and we can, yeah.
The coronavirus.
What do you think about what's going on with the coronavirus?
I don't know. It's both scary and also I don't know what to believe because there's all these different stories going on, but but the fatality is all old people
for the most part.
So it's
if
you're healthy.
Yeah, I was reading that like the mortality rate for SARS was like near 10%.
Okay.
Yeah, that's crazy. You know what I mean? And the mortality rate for this reported so far is like 2%.
Okay.
Maybe 3, maybe 4.
Yeah.
But the scary thing is that they're lying.
What are they lying about? Who's lying?
Well, so a study came out that said, I think we talked about this the other day, that based on the time at which people had become infected,
okay,
it had to have started earlier than China actually said. And so, China's denying it. And they're now saying, no, people got sick from, this meat market. And now it's like, look, man, a lot of people are, upset. Why don't you do more research into this, dude? Listen, everybody's got some insane conflicting information. It's hard to know what's really happening.
Yeah.
There was the bat soup thing, BuzzFeed's like, this is fake news, but I'm like, I'm not going to trust BuzzFeed on this one. You know what I mean? Like, right. What do they know?
Yeah.
What did they do? They did the same Google search I did and read Daily Mail or BBC or something.
Right.
But, I think when you look at how they're rapidly expanding these hospitals, it seems like they're really worried about something, man.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's why I think the mortality rate's got to be higher, because maybe I'm wrong, too young, but I don't remember like this mass mobilization during SARS. No,
that's true.
But maybe I think I was what, like 16, 17 when SARS happened.
Yeah,
so
maybe
was it
like 2005 or something?
2003, 2002, 2003.
Oh,
so I was like
even
15
earlier.
or 16 or something.
Yeah.
So maybe I just didn't pay attention.
You don't think
care.
it's just the government trying to get a hold of this thing, get ahead of it, because they're just being more proactive now than they were
maybe
for SARS?
But I don't trust China. I mean, look at Chernobyl.
Yeah.
Let's read this story. This is one of the latest stories we have. My family is in lockdown in Wuhan. Wisconsin father begged U.S. State Department to let his wife, his 5-year-old daughter, and his 10-month-old baby leave on the only evacuation flight out of the coronavirus-stricken city. I just want to say right now, I mean, kind of sounds like a bad idea. Like, there's a quarantine for a reason. Should we probably... Yeah. Do we tell American...
I mean, it sounds really bad for those 2 kids. It's terrible.
Hey, man. You're quarantined, dude.
It's true. It's like you're in ground zero and you have, like, the most, susceptible... people which are babies,
Yep.
No, I mean, I feel bad for them, but they could probably at least be checked, can't they?
No, it's a 2-week incubation period.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, so it seems crazy to me that we're talking about bringing people. There was a one story I saw of someone like from New Zealand.
Yeah,
it's like trying to hop, like begging the U.S. and like other countries to like get me out of here.
Yeah,
like streets are all deserted and everything. I don't know, man. I kind of feel like you should probably stay. Is that callous? Does that mean?
No, I mean,
it's quarantine, bro.
If this does turn out to be something that's, fatal, then they should stay.
Yeah. What it reminds me of? Like, you ever see those movies where they always break quarantine?
Yeah.
I can't stand it.
I can't.
What was that movie with like I think Ryan Reynolds was in it or something, and it's called, I think it's called Life.
I haven't seen that.
And it's like I can't remember, but I think it's like Idris Elba. He like puts his hand in that glove, and like there's like a life form, and then it like breaks his hand or something. Maybe that was a different character. And they're like, we got to get him out. And they're like, no, he's quarantined. I don't care. And then they open the door anyway, and it's like the whole movie is based on you violating the protocol.
Yeah, exactly.
That you're not supposed to violate.
That's a premise hole or a plot hole in so many movies like that too.
But why do they do this?
There's always that one person that's
man,
I don't care about this quarantine. Open the door.
I can't stand movies. I can't stand movies where the plot is based on character stupidity.
Yeah.
It's like, great.
I can't stand it.
Why couldn't they make it like the alien broke the quarantine?
Yeah.
And they were like, we did the right thing.
We had no choice in this matter.
Instead, it's always like, but I got to be honest.
Yeah.
Maybe it is realistic. Like, you have this story where people are trying to get out of the quarantine, and the U.S. is actually evacuating people.
Because they don't believe they have it. They're like, I'm clear. I'm
No,
good.
they don't care. I don't think they care. I think, the concern of people is me.
That's true.
It's like, I got to get out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's read a little bit more of this story. Because, I wanted to read this one because it feels a bit... It's a good story to focus on this individual, right? He's a human being. He's got a family, man. He's got kids.
Yeah.
We want to save this family. They're Americans.
Yeah, definitely.
But man, it's a tough call, right?
It definitely is.
If coronavirus kills one person in America and it comes from him, then was it worth, saving the guy? Let me read. They say this: a Wisconsin father begged the State Department to evacuate his wife and 2 daughters, one of whom is an infant, who are trapped in the lockdown city of Wuhan amid the coronavirus outbreak. Samuel Roth took to Twitter Monday pleading, "My family is currently in lockdown in Wuhan. When will my wife and 2 daughters, one of whom is only 10 months old, be offered seats on the chartered flight?" Sam's wife Daisy and daughters Adalyn and Abigail flew to China last week to spend Lunar New Year with Daisy's family in Wuhan. Shortly thereafter, the city was put in lockdown, leaving the Roth family stranded. And now Sam's plea with the State Department has been turned down. The last flight out of Wuhan left Tuesday, and Daisy and Adalyn and Abigail weren't in any of its 240 seats. Now, quote, "There's no telling when they will be able to get us out," Sam wrote on Facebook. Well, I'll tell you what, man. I feel for you, Sam. I really do. I don't want anybody to be hurt and be put in danger. But, bro, you're in a quarantined city, man.
Yeah.
There is a disease. I know the mortality rate is projected to be relatively low right now, but if we pull people out of this and then it spreads and hits thousands of people in the U.S. and there are deaths, it's like that could have been averted,
Yeah.
So I
agree.
I think for the most part, that's really the gist of the story. So we'll read a little bit more here. They say when the public transportation within Wuhan and flights, ferries, trains, and roads in and out of the city were shut down on January 23rd, some 1,000 Americans were trapped, along with the city's 11 million Chinese residents. I mean, yeah, that's how quarantine works.
Yep.
Each day they stayed, the number of people infected climbed. By midnight on Friday, 830 people were sick with the SARS-like coronavirus that seemed to have emerged at an open-air seafood market in the Wuhan, I think they made a mistake, where live game and exotic fish and animals were sold. Now the number of cases has surged well past 4,000. More than 100 people have died of the newly discovered respiratory infection, and most of them were in Wuhan. Gabriel Lung of the University of Hong Kong said draconian travel measures are necessary to stop the spread of the virus. Few passengers are expected to still be trickling into the U.S. from Wuhan, and the airports in the city are now closed, meaning travel to and from the city is nearly impossible for U.S. citizens. Monday, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, issued a Level 3 travel advisory recommending that all non-essential travel to any part of China be avoided. Only travel to Wuhan's Hubei province was met with the travel agency's highest Level 4 advisory, with officials urging Americans not to travel there at all. I mean, you can't, but thanks for the advisory. The exception is the State Department's chartered flight set to leave Wuhan. As far as we know, it's the last flight out of the city at the center of the outbreak. A U.S. official with knowledge of the matter told CNN that the plane is a Boeing 767, a plane that seats 240 people, less than a quarter of the Americans currently trapped in Wuhan. And so we can see pictures of the family. And they say it's primarily being sent to evacuate employees of the government, diplomats, and U.S. officials, but some seats are to be open to private citizens. Sam's family faces tough odds getting on the flight, which is supposed to land somewhere in California. All right. You know what, man? I kind of just got mad about that.
About which part?
Of course they're going to evacuate the people who work for the government.
Yeah.
I can respect to a certain degree. Yes, they'd prioritize that. But it kind of just reminds me of how, they'll ban guns except for themselves. You know what I mean? You see politicians walk around saying, we got to have gun control. I'm actually going to pull a Bernie, like gun control, and then you see he's got a bunch of armed guards.
Yeah.
It's like, if I get it. Government resources are going to pull people out because they work for the government. Fine, I get it. But I'm kind of like, you know what, man? But I think none of them should come out. That's kind of the issue.
I agree.
Yeah, man. For reasons I already stated, if this becomes something substantially worse. So what's
diplomat or not? If you're in a quarantine zone, you should stay there until you're checked and made sure you're good to leave.
Yeah. I mean, have you seen that movie Quarantine?
I have.
Yeah. What if they're zombies?
Oh.
You know what's scarier than like zombie movies? They don't get it. You know what's scarier is Contagion. Like,
yeah.
I would be less scared of a mindless zombie like milling about.
Yeah.
That I can just be like, I don't care.
You can see that though.
But what if it's a person begging you, covered in like their eyes are bleeding and you can tell they're infected and they're coming towards you frantically shaking like, help me please. And you're like, get away. And then you got to choose. This person is desperate.
Yeah.
It's easy to kill a zombie. They're mindless. They're like,
Yeah, you're right.
What about the person begging you for help who you know is in there?
Yeah, that's...
And you're like, you're going to get me sick. And
Yeah, that's a different
Take
story.
them out. That's what gets scary. Yeah, man. Having to deal with a bunch of people running around just like infecting everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the likelihood this turns into what was that game? The Division.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The
You
Division.
guys ever play The Division? People who are watching. It's basically a plague wipes out the world.
No, just New York.
Are you sure?
No,
No, like everything collapsed, right?
Oh yeah, maybe. I honestly don't remember exactly the story, but I do remember it was the epicenter was New York, and they quarantined the island down. So
Yeah.
and then you had to.
But like
fight your way
in the
through.
new Division, you're like DC's gone.
That's true. Yeah.
So it's like
DC's
everything
gone.
collapsed.
Yeah, must have. Yeah.
You know what I tell people, like whenever it comes to conspiracies or these big stories, like, come on, man, life is not that exciting.
Yeah.
Those are movies. Life is boring.
Yeah.
You know what I do? I wake up, pour a cup of coffee, I come down, I complain about Democrats. Oh, I said the D word. That's what I do. I complain about politics, to be fair. Stop bragging on myself.
Yeah.
It's boring, you know what I mean? Like, nothing happens. Nobody really knows what's going on for the most part. This thing's not going to be a big deal. I know a lot of people, there's so many videos on YouTube where people want to act like this is seriously the apocalypse.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, maybe. But like, look, I don't want to have an optimism bias.
Didn't they say that for SARS too? Didn't they say that for almost
Swine flu,
everything
bird
that
flu.
happens?
It's like, oh,
Exactly.
this is the next big thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And then nothing happens.
Mhm.